So the first one is of physical preventions, things that you can do physically, non-spiritual invasive treatments. I'm just talking about, just as a human being, what are certain things that would help you to overcome this fatigue? So there are three things that I want to talk to you about. And all of them are rooted in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, rooted in the Quran. They're taken from the words of Allah. The first of them is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجَعَلْنَا اللَّيْلَ لِبَاسًا. النَّهَارَ مَعَاشًا وَاللَّيْلَ لِبَاسًا. That the day was meant to be for activity, and the night was meant to be for repose and for a state of tranquility and sleep. So one of the problems, of course, for a lot of people is they kind of get into this habit in the month of Ramadan where they want to stay up at night. And there's nothing wrong, of course, with doing the qiyam, alhamdulillah, that you guys are doing, but you must catch up your sleep for you to be able over the 30 days to remain effective, especially in the final days of the month of Ramadan. Now, human function, of course, is regulated, and there is, a real danger of sleep intoxication, sleep drunkenness. Just as many signs as you'll see on the roadways here in Australia that say it's not okay to drink and drive. There's also enough signs that says it's not okay to drive while tired. And being tired is one of the religious reasons that allows you to miss one of the fard prayers, right? That a person was in a state of such exhaustion that they weren't able to wake up. And it's one of the reasons the Prophet ﷺ missed a Fajr prayer along with the Sahaba. In the famous hadith, they were traveling in enemy territory. They were traveling by night. They began to set up their camp an hour or so before Fajr, but everybody's exhausted. And the Prophet ﷺ said, who will stay awake to wake us for Fajr so we don't miss it? So Bilal radiallahu anhu took on this responsibility, but everybody fell asleep, including Bilal. And they didn't wake up until their skin began to be tanned and felt this touch of the sun. And when they woke up, it was like death. It was like they lost a loved one. They missed their Fajr Salah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam missed a Fajr Salah. And they all, وَضَعُوا التُّرَابَ عَلَى رُؤُوسِهِمْ. They put dirt on their head. It's as if like they were burying themselves alive at the shame and at the loss of missing Fajr prayer. And then the Prophet ﷺ, the rahmah that he is, he said, relax. This is one of the reasons why a person, if they miss it, they're not accountable before Allah Azza wa Jal. And they redid their prayer. They made the qada. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive Bilal radiallahu anhu wa ardah, who was forgiven by Allah and our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sleep is important. So make sure that if you are going to extend your sleep, your wakeful nights, sleep at night, if you're going to do qiyam, try to get a nap, a power nap in the day, before and after. So before, on the day of your qiyam, and on the day after, try to get a power nap, even if it's 20 minutes, which are the most effective power naps that you can have. Second is hydration. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. Everything that is walking, talking, moving around the earth was of an origin that requires the hydration of H2O. It was destined from its creation of its origin from, those two hydrogens and hydrogens, right? So you and I need water to live. And the philosophy of fasting, you don't worship Allah better the more thirsty you are. Like, you don't look at somebody in for example, in a warm country and you say, subhanallah, that guy's going to get so much more reward than me because he's thirstier than me. He's fasting in the summer, I'm fasting in the winter. Surely the reward is greater. That's nonsense. That has no reality. Our act of worship in the month of Ramadan is simply our totality of obedience and deference to the will of Allah. Your act of obedience isn't hunger and thirst. That's a byproduct of your obedience to Allah. So therefore, it becomes important for you to look after your hydration. H2O is something that you and I need. Water is 70% of what is looking at you right now. As I sit before you, I'm 70% water. And that's something that I need. So you need to hydrate much more than you need to nourish your body with just plentiful amounts of food. And the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is that for every physical thing you consume, there is liquid water that you consume. The Prophet ﷺ said, a third for our food, a third for our water, and a third for air. So for every volume of solid that you have, make sure that you have a volume that is of water and clear liquid, at the very least clear liquid. I know there's a lot of people who like their bubble teas and all these kind of hydration things. No problem with that. The essence is water. Get rid of the garbage. Number 3 is food. We don't just eat that which is halal, halalan tayyiba. You need to eat something that's tayyib, that's good. That's good for you, good for your health, good for your energy levels, good for your system, good for the bacterial balance in your gut. A lot of diseases are now becoming identified and indicated by certain bacteria that are residing within us. And, whether it's ulcers, whether it's chronic fatigue, all of that kind of stuff goes back to food. And there's this old adage, this old colloquial saying, you are what you eat. So if you're eating garbage, I'm sorry to say that you're going to feel like garbage over the extent of your life. And those who eat healthy, and I'm not talking about a particular diet. It could be, you can be eating healthy even though you enjoy your biryani and you enjoy your samosa and you enjoy your macarona bil bechamel and whatever it is. But it's about portion size, and it's about variety, and it's about that which is raw ingredients. Not everybody wants salad, but you need greens, you need dark purples, you need reds. And I'm talking about raw ingredients. The less packaging, the better. So in the month of Ramadan, focus on the sunnah. Have your dates, have your water. Look at what Allah says to Maryam, alayhi salam. She went through this traumatic experience out in the desert on her own, giving birth to her child. Ya laytani mit, I wish I was dead before this day would come. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَكُلِي وَاشْرَبِي وَقَرِّ عَيْنَا. Eat from these dates that have come down on you. Drink from the spring that has erupted from you miraculously, and be of those who will find their comfort. وَقَرِّ عَيْنَا. You will then be able to have your soul comforted. So if you eat well and if you hydrate well, you are able to connect well with others and with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I can add a fourth, physical activity. Physical activity is important. In the month of Ramadan is not a month of idleness and sleep by day where you're just moping around. And the best way for you to gain energy is to exert energy. So you want to have your body moving for it to know, hey, I'm not in a state of hibernation. So why do you feel lethargic is because you're just moping around laying in bed. So of course you're going to feel lethargic. Your body hasn't sent signals to you that I'm active, I'm supposed to be awake. وَجَعَلْنَا النَّهَارَ مَعَاشًا. So the day is for activity. It's important to kind of set that as a tone. So that's the physical. Let's speak secondly about the social. And all of it comes back to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ says, when you cook, add a little bit more soup to your broth so that you can feed your neighbor. Why? Because looking after others makes you feel happy. أسعد الناس من أسعد الناس. The happiest person is the one who brings happiness to others. Allahu Akbar wa lillahi alhamd. أسعد الناس. The one who will have the most joy in life is the one who brought lots of joy to other people. Food is a way when we break bread and we enjoy it with others. And I'm not talking about sitting together, even eating. I know there's COVID restrictions, but you can Uber food to someone. You can cook soup for someone and deliver it to their doorstep. Connecting with others in meaningful way through food is a powerful example of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said that the person who is going to provide food should be the last to eat. Subhanallah. The one who's serving should be the last to eat. There's a hikmah in that. Why? Because, the normal habit is you want to make sure that there's something left over for you. And the Prophet ﷺ saying, listen, there will be more barakah in the little little burnt off edges of that rice for you, if that's all that's left for you after everybody has gotten their share, and that's what's left for you, that will be more nutritious, that will be more healing, that will be more barakah, that will be more success than what you assume. Don't eat from the middle of the plate where people usually put the meat, put the veggies. You know, people pile this stuff up in the middle. When the Prophet says, don't eat from the middle of it, don't reach over, you know, work to it naturally. Eat with your right hand. You know, do the sunnah, these things where you're thinking about the command of Allah and the Prophet ﷺ. Socially, it's something that becomes important to connect with others for a religious aim and perspective. Number two, socially, check in with each other. And I'm not just talking about that forwarded, you know, WhatsApp message, assalamu alaikum, you know, how you doing, inshallah, everything. I'm talking about, you know, being genuine. You know, somebody's important to you, show them they're important. Show them their meaning, you know, they hold meaning and sway to your life. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make that a reality. Third and finally, socially, is if you feel down, if you feel depressed, and if you feel unwell, let people know. And that's why I said first we check in on people, but you need to also let people know. And there's nothing wrong with saying, subhanallah, you know, I'm feeling really down today, man. What are you guys doing? Hey, you know, what's happening today? You know, just talk to someone and engage with someone. You might think, oh, they don't have time for me. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you think, whether they have time or not. People will make time. People will make time when they feel that there is something that is of a need and that it's not excessive. So be balanced, right? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it so. Check in, but also let people know about your state and how you're feeling. Especially some of us were under different COVID restrictions and travel and all this kind of thing. Lastly, socially, it begins with the family before the neighbor, and the neighbor before the next door neighbor. So it's great that you love, getting in contact with your BFFs, or I don't even know if they use that anymore. Is that a thing anymore? You know, your best friends, and you know, you're always online and you're texting and checking in on everyone, and your poor mom's sitting there, she needs somebody to help her with the dishes, but you're too busy checking in with people. That's not Islam. That's not the Quran. That's not our Sunnah. There's nobody that requires you to check in more on than your husband, your wife, your children, your father, your mother, right? Your busyness should be with those who are nearest you. Aisha, when she's asked, what did the Prophet do when he was home with you? Kana fi khidmati ahli. He was there in the service of his family. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to serve those who are nearest to us. And if they are overseas, subhanallah, my father and mother, they're not with me here in Australia. And, you know, it's going on a year and a half now that I haven't been able to travel to them and for them to travel to me. They're usually with me every Ramadan here. The last, 2 cycles anyway, 3, 4, 5 cycles. But at the moment, I'm unable to see them. So make a schedule. It's an informal schedule, at their Fajr and at their Maghrib. Break your fast with them, make your suhoor with them. So when my dad's just about to have, when my dad and my mom, they're getting themselves ready for iftar, it's my suhoor. Check in. And when I'm having my iftar, my iftar, it's their suhoor. Check in. Make sure that there is regular communication with those who matter. Okay, third and finally, so I'm not taking up too much of your time. I know you busy people got so many other things, subhanAllah, is spiritually. So he spoke about physical and social. I'm not going to get into financial. We'll speak about spiritual. And you need to be greedy. You need to make yourself priority one as it relates to your relationship with Allah. Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum, save yourself and then your family, right? So there are many ways to worship Allah in the month of Ramadan other than Taraweeh, Qiyam, and reading Quran. Those are the priority, but there's many other ways. And some of them are, cutting up salad so that somebody's going to have a nice fresh salad that's going to keep them healthy. Cooking something for somebody else. Loving someone and being charitable with your smile, with an embrace if they come and visit your home, just holding someone's hand a little bit longer in salam so that they let go before you let go is a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. That's an act of worship. If your heart is alive, your whole life becomes wama أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهِ. They were only ordered to worship Allah, meaning in every way, in everything, right? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, so that they worship me alone. So go beyond the conventional acts of worship. Build your spirituality in that regard. So there are three signs that Allah radiyallahu ank, Allah is pleased with you. The first of them is that you don't have intention of doing a good deed, but Allah opens a door to it, so you walk through it. You didn't have the intention of watching this or listening to this or being a part of this program, but somebody sent you a text message and you got a Zoom link, so you opened it and now you're here. Allah loves you, right? Allah loves you. Something you didn't premeditate, didn't think about, didn't instigate, but it was open to you as an avenue, and you walk through a door that Allah showed you. Because there's many other people who get that door, but they don't go through. And it's a sign of Allah's rida that you walked through. Number two, you planned on something wrong. And it was in your mind, I was going to do this, I was going to do, and Allah stopped you. Allah deterred you. Allah restrained you, restricted you, held you back. And it could be held you back in any way. SubhanAllah, you got a phone call, I need to see you. Your mom called and said, come out, I need you to help in the kitchen. And you were just about to text this person or write this or watch this or TikTok that. Allah saved you from that. You know, لَوْلَا أَنْ هَدَانَ اللَّهِ مَهْتَدَيْنَا. And that's from the ni'mah of Allah and the barakah of the dua of our parents. And the shade of our sadaqah. That you've done something good, it comes back in a moment where you didn't know it's actually come and intervened and saved you from your own self. That's a sign of Allah's rida. And third is that people think of you when they need help. SubhanAllah. You're that phone call. You're the person, hey, who can help me? Sheikh Yahya, man, Brother Yahya is going to help me. That's the person I need to talk to. What a blessed life it is that people think of you when they have a problem. Because you're a troubleshooter, you're a problem solver, you're an assistant to good. Unconventional acts of worship are what take you beyond. They're what allow you to witness Laylatul Qadr. They make you worthy of the rahmah of Allah, right? But do the conventional. But then look for the unconventional. Go, become asymmetric in your ibadah. Just, come at it from every angle. Train for the best. So overcome the fatigue of spiritual fatigue by having a variety of acts of worship. There's the Qiyamul Layl, there's a reading the Quran, there's a reading of it in English translation, there's giving charity in secret, giving charity in public, recommending charity for others, getting involved in a online charitable program, being part of a charitable team. And the more variety you have, the more opportunity you have to remain consistent, firm, regular in doing good, because there's just more opportunity to it in a way that you don't get bored, tired, hesitant, and fatigued in it. Hopefully that's sufficient, discourse for the topic that was chosen to me. وصلي اللهم وسلم وزد وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا ونبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.